I've been waiting for this segment for a long, long time. It could do great things, I believe. It's time for one reason why. Now, we set it up at the start of the show, but we'll do it again. So we want one reason why the team that we're going to break down can make the top 8, and also one reason why they can't make the top 8. So NRL season kicks off, obviously, in Vegas, March 2, which means we've got 7 shows between now and then. So we're going to break down in little chunks a few teams to go, why they can, why they can't. Now, obviously, the lower the table, we might look at maybe a top 8 ascendance or miss the top 8 again. Mid-table, we might think about a top 4. And then the pointy end, I'm talking the likes of the Panthers, the Storm, the Broncos even.
Yep.
Ignoring their result last year.
Well, Broncos would be up next, wouldn't they? They're not too far away.
They must be, yeah. So we're going to have to be really malleable next week when we look at them, because we're probably going to have to think about talking about them in a sort of premiership sense. But this week, we're diving into the West Tigers, the Bunnies, and the Parramatta Eels. So as I said, the question, one reason why they can, one reason why they can't make the top 8. We're going to kick it off with the West Tigers. Now, a bit of a recap. So the whole world knows heading into 25, they've gone 3 spoons on the bounce. Going into their second year of Benji as, the actual full-time head coach, there's been all this unrest in the off-season. How much of it is true? I'll leave that for others to decide about the Balmain side of things versus the West. But their gains cannot be underestimated. Jerome Luai, number 1. Terrell May, Suni Turuva, Jack Bird, Jarrell Skelton, Royce Hunt. Royce Hunt's probably, of those last 3 names, Royce Hunt's probably the biggest one there for me. And losses, Johnny Bateman, Stefano, Junior Tupou, Isaiah Papali'i, Aiden Caesar, and Bud Sullivan. The key man there, obviously, is Jerome Luai. I'll quickly just go through my reasons why and why not, because I'm really keen to hear yours. The thing for me, why they probably can't make that big jump, is just the defensive numbers. They leaked 750 points last year. To make the jump, if you're finishing in the 8, you probably need to keep that to somewhere around the mid-500 scope. Your defence has to be a lot better. They're going from, north of 30 points a game. They've got to get that right down to the sort of low 20s. Can they do that? I don't think so. It's a big jump to make in one off-season. While they can, is one name and one name only, Jerome Luai. I don't think it really can be underestimated how big of a difference he is going to make for that club. So there's my why they can, why they can't. What's your take on why the West Tigers can make the top 8 season 2025?
Yeah, it's an easy one for me this year for the Tigers. And you mentioned it, Jerome Luai. You've got the consecutive streak going the other way, the wrong way, with the wooden spoons in 2022, 23, 24. Well, he knows what it's like to win a premiership in those same years. So he's bringing championship DNA. We look at the influence that Stephen Crichton had on the Bulldogs last year, the leadership. He's going to be joining a player that he's familiar with in Api Coruscant. He's also bringing his little mate from the wing, Sydney Turuva, over with him as well. Some more championship DNA. Some good signings in guys who I think going to improve parts of their game. And you mentioned Royce Hunt. Terrell May, I'm really excited to see what Terrell May can do this year with, I guess, being taking on the alpha role, playing the big minutes in the front row. I think it's a really important of the game. We look at the market recently and what these top-tier front rows are getting paid, and him coming over from the Tigers. But Jerome Luai, it starts and ends there because that spine, Shane Richardson come out.
Best in the comp.
He said it's the best in the comp. I'm not going to go that far, but I really do like it. I love Jerome Buller.
Yep.
I think Lachlan Galvin has a huge future in the game. And this will, in my opinion, this year alone will decide or have a huge impact on what happens with Lachlan Galvin moving forward. I think after all the drama that he had last year, it's a wait and see from him, family, management. How much of an influence can Jerome Luai have on the field, and with Lachlan Galvin is going to be the key to the future of the Tigers.
You mentioned Terrell May before. He has his comments in the media, and he's done a fair bit of it since leaving the Roosters. But he has really impressed me to the point where I could almost see him being in a very, very senior leadership role, if not captain at the West Tigers. The way as a sort of leader of the pack. Some of his comments are, because he's still only young, but he seems like he's got a very, very mature head on his shoulders.
He's done a couple of interviews. He hasn't been shy of I guess
which creates pressure, right? Which is why I think he's got
does.
that. I think he's willing to go, all right, because he's put it on himself. No one else has really put it on him.
Yep.
But I think it shows that he's really keen to, put his money where his mouth is.
Yep, for sure. And I'm going to flip straight over now too to a reason why they can't, and because it involves Terrell May. I would love in terms of we talk about combinations in the spine, going all the way from 1, 7, 9, 13, the Penrith model. But if you look at how successful the Panthers have been during that period, how about the front row rotation that they've had in James Fisher-Harris, Moses Leota, Spencer Leniu before he went over to the Roosters, but then they've also now been able to develop not Lindsay Smith, Liam Henry. So front row for me is crucial. And if they just been able to somehow retain Stefano, I've got a huge rap on Stefano. I reckon there would have been 50% of the fans of the Tigers would have loved Stefano and known what he was capable of. And the other 50% would have been over him because he just didn't live up to all the pressure, all the noise that was around him last year. But if I'm looking at Terrell May, Stefano, and you mentioned Royce Hunt, gee, I like that rotation. Clemmer, Mitchie's mentioned Clemmer. Not so much anymore, Mitchie. I think Clemmer's at the back end. A good vet to have within the team. And another one that they've brought over in Jack Bird. I think he'll have a good veterans presence. But in Stefano, I think is the reason why I love Melbourne. We're going to talk about Melbourne in a couple of weeks. Stefano is going to be one of those guys where we're going to go, all right, that's the reason he played Origin.
Yeah.
That's the reason he was demanding big money. Because he's a top-tier front rower, and it would have been nice to see it at the Tigers. And I think with that rotation, outside of a few veterans like Clemmer, like Jack Bird, they've got a really young squad.
Yeah.
Benji's had to debut a lot of players in the last couple of years, so there's a lot of inexperience. And even with the noise that Terrell May's making, he hasn't yet proven it for a long period of time yet. So it's not like I do think he's going to be a good player, but I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it for a couple of years. So when we did the rankings a couple of weeks ago, I've still got my concerns with the forward pack and the, I guess, the maturity, the age of a lot of players outside of and it's a good position to be in for the Tigers, and it's probably a position they haven't been in for a long time. People have been excited about other positions, but it's actually the spine that probably has the least amount of concern for the Tigers in a long time, because we all think, Uppy Carousel's still a top 3 hooker in the game. Jerome is
almost as settled, a spine as you
in the comp. In the comp, it'd be right up there. That's the Tigers for me in 2025. I'm excited to watch them. I'm excited to see year 2 Benji. Benji gets his guy. All good coaches having a captain or a leader that's an extension of the coaching team, the message, and I think Jerome's going to be that for Benji.
Have your say 0457 what are you doing with the West Tigers this year? Are they making the 8? Are they not making the 8? Tell us why. We need reasons why. And Panther Jez has texted in, g'day fellas, a lot of Panthers DNA at the Tigers, so much so they're almost the Dogs. Look at these for all ex-Panthers: Luai, Taruva, Brett Naden, Charlie Staines, Appy. It's just a winning culture, it's the exact sort of method that the Doggies have gone after. Does it happen in year 1? Didn't happen for the Bulldogs.
No, it didn't.
So it might take a couple. I think.
This isn't year 1 though. Like Naden, Charlie Staines, Uppy. They could be the examples of Matty Burton going over early. They had probably a couple of players like Kickout come over a year before. Before Critter got over there, and he was sort of the last domino, the last piece that matters. And I guess when you're looking at it too, those two guys in particular, Stephen Crichton and Jerome Lloyd, they're also vocal leaders as well.
Beautiful. All right, that was the West Tigers. Now to jump in to the Bunnies scope. It was a long old year for them, just like the West Tigers in many ways. Parted ways with their coach, JD. Wayne Bennett, he returns to Redfern for a second stint. These are their gains. Lewis Dodd from the UK, Jamie Humphries comes over from Manly, Ewan Aiken, Joshy Schuster, Jaden Sullivan from West Tigers. Who they lose? Bit of experience here. Tommy Burgess, Damien Cook, Lockie Ilias, who is returning from pretty decent injury as well. Dean Hawkins and Tane Milne. The number one key man, I think the whole world agrees with this, Latrell Mitchell, only played 11 games I think it was last year. And this is for me
Did he
why
only play 11 last year?
this is for me why they can bounce back and bounce back quick. I've seen pictures of Latrell. Looks very, very sharp on the training field, which is, you look at Latrell, that's probably been the one criticism from outsiders looking in. Is he fit enough? Well, he certainly looks that way. Played 11 games last year. Cameron Murray only played 14. Campbell Graham, duck egg. Didn't play any. So if you can get those guys up to 20, 21, 22 even, arguably probably their 3 most important players. And then the off-field stuff, which you can't quantify. There was something going on at the start of last year. They've moved on the coach, much more settled. And that, for me, is why they can bounce back in a big way and make the 8.
Yep. Yeah, agreed for all those things. But that Latrell, he's a byproduct of Wayne. It's going to be Wayne. He's the main reason. He drives everything. The thing that's been letting South down now for the last couple of years since he's left, you got to think about it. They were... We talk about this run that Penrith have been on. It's almost like South Sydney were a huge reason that they started it. They're the ones that lost to the Panthers in that grand final, and they
sliding doors moment.
Cody Walker throws that intercept. Latrell again not playing in that game.
Yep.
Blake Taff was the fullback.
Yeah.
But they were really competitive for 2 or 3 years under Wayne. Wayne leaves, does a great job up at the Dolphins, up at Redcliffe. He comes back. Reputation goes a long way in the game with players. We all talk to each other, ex-players, current players. We talk about coaches that are good. We talk about coaches that are bad, probably more often. We all communicate that within the community. I haven't heard in my entire, I debuted in 2010, so I've been around the game since then and talked to players about the reputation of Wayne, how he gets the best out of players without even really having to say too much. He's a man of, he just has a presence about him. So all the discipline issues that Souths have had in the last 2 years, off-field, on-field, and I'll even contribute the injuries off the back of that, because when you're undisciplined, you're not eating well, you're probably going out, you're having a few too many beverages. He tightens all that up.
Yeah.
Therefore, those soft tissue injuries, they disappear. Now, you're always going to have freak accidents. You're going to have injuries like Campbell Graham where that's contact. There's no way of avoiding that. But maybe they halve that number. So, you've got 50% of that roster that was missing last year. They're on the field. And that's because of Wayne, because, he sets standards, he sets culture. I'm high on the Rabbitohs. I said this last week, and I'm going to be banging on about the Rabbitohs, and it's because of Wayne. And he's got some players now too that fit the mold of players that Wayne brings out the best in, and highlighting one of them is Josh Schuster.
Yeah,
I love Josh Schuster. I think he can be a really good player still. People were starting to give up on him already because the last couple of years at Manly weren't great.
Do you reckon Wayne has put the no looker away?
Not necessarily. No, he's not a guy that's like, you look at Cody Walker.
Sure.
Cody Walker hasn't put the no look away in the double, the tunnel ball cut out over the top. He won't remove something completely from your game, but I'd imagine without even being coached by him that, all right, if you're going to go out and do that in a game, make sure you practice it, make sure you nail it. Like the best coaches are like that. They don't tell you, take a certain part of your game that you've played and you've done well. Yeah, you probably have to limit it a touch, and he's not going to be required to do that as much at South Sydney. He doesn't have to do something freakish like or consistently as the no-looker. When you got Latrell at the back, when you got Cody Walker playing off you, if you manage to break into the team, now that's a big if as well with Shuey.
Yeah.
Jack Whiten, I think he could really suit Jack Whiten well. Like the ball playing edge back row, because that's not Jack Whiten's strength either. He's a ball runner.
Yeah.
So in the perfect world, if they're able to, I think Josh Schuster's going to be, and I've said this for a while now, I'd love to see Josh Schuster play limited minutes through the middle in that ball playing role.
He's left edge, yeah.
Yeah, he's left edge, and he'd be reluctant because I know
which means Cody, which means Jack Whiten was on the left as well. So all of a sudden you're thinking of a very, very hot left edge of the field. If he can get to, he's got all the potential in the world. Everyone knows that.
Yep.
If it's the consistency can come, that's a pretty scary proposition because that was always there. That was always their strike edge, right? And you had AJ out there just doing his thing, doing the finishing. Latrell is probably dominant down the left side of the field as well. So I'm just very much talking myself into the bunnies.
Yeah, you're getting to you're getting me pumped about what the left edge can be. I'd love. Now the biggest concern for me, 7 and 9. Lewis Dodd, he comes over from St Helens.
Yep.
he was in and out of Super League last year. That's a concern. Jamie Humphries, he was a backup at Manly. And the one I would love to see, the partnership that I'd love to see them go with early on, I don't know if they'll do it. I think Wayne potentially will give some of these more, I guess, halves with the potential to grow into the role an opportunity early on. But I liked what I seen out of Cody playing 7 and Jack Whiten playing 6.
Yeah.
Jack Whiten on the left and Cody Walker on the right, because it opens up the field more. Everyone knew which side they were coming when you would play South Sydney in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
They were so dominant to that left edge because it was so successful. But when you have Cody on the right, Jacob Gagai scored about, it felt like he scored about 15 tries last year.
He did, yeah.
Potentially 10 in a 4 to 5 week period
Yep.
on that right edge. It opens up the field a lot more. It makes them more dangerous. You started to see Latrell pop down that right side when Cody was over there too. So I think it makes them more dangerous. But I still do have my concerns over the 7 and 9. Cookie moves on. Mamazoulis, whether he's the guy, I haven't seen enough of him yet. He's only a small body, and he hasn't played big minutes. So my concern is the 7 and 9 for South. If they don't if they're not able to take the next step, then that's what concerns me.
And they might need a bit of luck as well in terms of the draw. It does look a tough draw on paper anyway. I know a lot can change, obviously, as the year unfolds, but they've got the Storm, Sharks, Broncos, Bulldogs and Panthers all twice. Also play the Roosters. Roosters are a funny one because I'm really not have my mind made up how they're going to go. Are they going to be a dominant force? Certainly not in the first half of the year, but they play them in round 27, so they're going to play them at the back end of the year as well.
Okay, so here's with the Roosters too before we and it's good that you brought that up. I think the Roosters are going to get better as the season goes on. They remind me a lot of the time that I had in Manly when we lost a whole heap of senior players in 15. It took us about 10 weeks to sort of get our groove. So I think the Roosters are going to start slow. So if you're looking at, and probably getting ahead of ourselves here, but it does, when you think of the Rabbitohs, you always got to mention the Roosters in the same breath. Like those two teams just match up with each other and have been a rival for so long.
Yeah, now we got a warning on the text line about treading very, very carefully before discussing the Parramatta Eels. Very carefully, says Steve. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to dive straight in. Parramatta scope.
Yep.
Why can they? Why can't they? Because they are a bit of an enigma of a team for me. And I've certainly got them going a lot better than what they did last year for a few different reasons. But keen to hear your thoughts on the Parramatta Eels.
Yeah, so third last year, playing in the wooden spoon game. Who would have thought at the start of the year, if you said that, Ross, I know we have some things or some teams that go better than expected and some teams that, don't perform as well. But it just wasn't good enough from the Parramatta team. And because of that, they lost their head coach early on, and they lost 2 out of their 4 most senior players. Half the leadership group and the captain are now gone because of it. Gutho moves on. Regan Campbell-Gillard's now playing for the Titans. A whole heap of changes. I like some of the changes. A couple of the obvious ones, Zach Lomax. He was outstanding last year. I'm really excited to see what he's able to do for the Eels. Jack Williams.
Yeah.
Jack Williams.
Not much has really been said about this. I think it's a great sign.
I think this could be a really good low-key signing. I'm looking at Jermaine Hopgood over the last couple of years, how he really ascended once he left the Penrith
only played 12
squad.
games as well.
He
last
couldn't
year,
get a run
Hopgood.
in there. Yeah, Jack Williams, very similar stories. Now, Jack's a little bit older. He had a lot of anticipation, a lot of build-up around Jack after Paul Gallen had retired. It sort of just didn't eventuate. I think he can play a nice little 1-2 role, play some middle, play some lock, and give Jermaine Hopgood a bit of a spell because he was really banged up last year, Jermaine Hopgood.
Yeah.
But before that, he was playing Origin. The reason why, I just think a complete reset, a complete refresh. They got rid of like I said, 2 of the most senior players, the head coach, different vision.
Yeah.
And with that, I think has the potential to bring out the best in Mitch. When you are coached by the same player, you have this. Sorry, when you are coached by the same coach in Brad Arthur for what feels like at least over 5 years, it's almost the same message. It's very hard to change your game a whole heap. Now he'll bring in some different ideas from Jason Rolls. It's not going to be a complete overhaul, but I think with Mitch, now that Gutho's gone, he will be the captain.
Yeah.
We assume he will be the captain. It hasn't been announced
yet.
Has to be. I felt like he was captain anyway
Yeah,
the last couple of years, the way he, sort of run in, communicate with referees, run the team. He is the guy. I think he's going to take that next step. The confidence that he would taken, not from Parramatta, his season with Parramatta, but what he did representative-wise.
Yeah.
Origin, Australia, he won both of them. He performed well. And he's also got now a combination. He's going to form a combination with his mate from last year in the Blues jersey, in the green and gold jersey, in Zach Lomax. So it's almost going to feel like a completely new team for Mitch Moses with so many senior authorities or authoritative figures at Parramatta now moved on.
And I looked to where you can make really quick improvements. He played 8 games. So he's won an Origin, did everything else outside of Parramatta, played 8 games for them last year. So all of a sudden you get him playing a full season. They can make a big step back. All right, that was one reason why. Next week, Scope, we're doing the Titans, Warriors and Broncos. Broncos might have to be why they can win the comp.